Hi friends, in our last video we discussed about historical background of Indian polity and Regulating Act 1773. In this video we are going to discuss about Regulating Act 1773 in brief. So let's talk about the features of Regulating Act 1773. It was the first step taken by British government to control and regulate the affairs of East India Company in India. This act recognized for the first time the political and administrative functions of the company, and it laid down the foundations of central administration in India. Regulating Act 1773 designated the Governor of Bengal as the Governor General of Bengal and created an executive council of 4 members to assist him. The first such Governor General was Lord Warren Hastings. This act reorganized the structure of Calcutta government. The decisions in the council meeting were to be made by a majority of votes. The Governor General had only one vote and a casting vote in case of a tie in the council. He had no power to override the majority in the council, which could as a result defeat any of his policies, which means that he did not have a veto. So what is veto? Veto is to refuse to give official permission for an action or plan when other people have agreed to it. The Governor General and Council was authorized to make and issue rules, ordinances and regulations for the good of civil government of companies' settlements at Fort William and other subordinate factories and places. Regulating Act 1773 made the governors of Bombay and Madras presidencies subordinate to the Governor General of Bengal, unlike earlier when the 3 presidencies were independent of one another. The presidencies of Bombay and Madras were placed under the control, superintendence and overlook of the Governor General in Council, while exercising their power to make war and peace. The Governor General and the Council had to keep the Court of Directors fully informed of all their activities affecting the interest of the company, and they were also to work in entire obedience and loyalty to the orders and instructions of the Court of Directors. An important innovation made by the Regulating Act was the creation of Supreme Court at Calcutta under Section 13 of the Act. Supreme Court at Calcutta was created by the Royal Charter. King George III on 26 March 1774 issued a charter establishing the Supreme Court. It comprised of 1 Chief Justice and 3 other judges. Sir Elijah was appointed as the first Chief Justice of Supreme Court at Calcutta. Supreme Court was not allowed to hear the cases against Governor General and Council. An exception was crime of felony. The Supreme Court was also made to consider and respect the religious and social customs of the Indians. Appeals could be taken from the provincial courts to the Governor General in Council and from there to King in Council. Governor General and Council got the powers to make the laws and rules, but with the condition that all the rules and laws must be registered in the Supreme Court and did not become effective until they were registered and published in the Supreme Court. Any person in India got the power to appeal against such rules within 60 days in the King's Council. The appeal was to be made in the Supreme Court of Calcutta within stipulated period. Regulating Act 1773 strengthened the control of the British government over the company by requiring the Court of Directors to report on its revenue, civil and military affairs in India. The directors of the company were elected for 5 years instead of being elected for 1 year. 1/4 of them retired every year, and retiring directors were not entitled to be elected again. This was done to secure continuity in the direction of the company's affairs and strengthening the position of the directors. To prevent power from being easily purchased by the company's servants, voting power of the shareholders were restricted to those who held stock worth £1,000 or more in the company. Small shareholders were thus deprived of their voting rights in the hope that it would result in improving the quality of shareholders and accordingly of the directors. In order to assert Parliament's control over the company, the directors were required to place regularly all their correspondence regarding civil military affairs within the Indian authorities. All correspondence regarding to revenues in India was required to be placed before the Treasury in England. Thus, a sense of responsibility, accountability, and transparency had to be maintained by the officials. Let's see the defects of the Regulating Act 1773. The objective of the Regulating Act was commendable, but still there were many defects in the Act. Firstly, the Act made the Governor-General powerless before his colleagues because he had no veto power. This brought difficult and unmanageable times for Warren Hastings. He was outvoted and overruled for most of the times by the members of his council. Further, some of the members were hostile towards Warren Hastings. Governor-General had no free hand to give an independent decision. The council used the Governor-General as the puppet to make their decision. Secondly, the law did not mention anything regarding the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. It also did not demarcate the lines between powers of Governor and Supreme Court. The actions of the servants of the company were brought under Supreme Court, but this again was a point of tussle between Governor-General and the court. Thirdly, the presidencies of Bombay and Madras continued to act on their discretion on pretext of emergencies. They also continued wars and alliances without caring in the least bit to presidency of Bengal. Fourthly, the parliamentary control was inefficient in the sense that there was no concrete arrangements to study, examine and scrutinize the reports and data sent by the Governor-General in Council. And lastly, there was nothing in the Act which could address the people of India who were paying revenue to the company, but now were dying in starvation in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa due to the famine. Let's see when did the defects of the Regulating Acts were removed. Some of the problems were addressed in an amendment of Regulating Act in the form of Amending Act 1781. The Amending Act of 1781 reduced the powers of Supreme Court, which much below Governor-General in Council. The Pitt's India Act 1784 gave veto power to the Governor-General, and the presidencies were made subordinate to the Governor-General. Thus, we can say that the Regulating Act of 1773 has been a motivation and an inspiration for the government of this era to prevent, prohibit, and restrain the government officials from engaging into the illegal act of corruption. As a result of this motive in mind, the government has formed several laws such as the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, the Penal Code, the Companies Act 2013, the Whistleblowers of Protection Act, the Lokpal and Lokayukt Act 2013, the Foreign Contribution Act, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002, and the Benami Transactions Act. To prevent government officials from engaging into the illicit act of corruption, government has formed many anti-corruption agencies such as the CBI and the Anti-Corruption Bureau, the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, and the Central Vigilance Commission. Thus, we can say that the Regulating Act of 1773 has been a constant source of motivation for the government of present times to restrict the behavior and conduct of government officials and to prevent them from being a part of this illegal practice of corruption. Thanks for watching. If you really like this video, please like, share and subscribe our channel. Bye-bye.